We celebrated our 15th anniversary this year. Then suddenly there was the omen of doom, here to bring an end to our life and everything else. I exerted all of my efforts to save my family, but it was not in God's will for that to take place. Check that before we continue our tale for today. You'll receive upcoming updates if you click the bell icon and then subscribe to our channel. I worked in management for a bank where I eventually got the chance to meet the woman who would become my wife. Whereas at first it was an event in which we engaged in a great deal of verbal conflict. At the newspaper where she worked, she held the position of editor. She came to our bank in order to create an account with her buddy, but due to the bank's hectic schedule, she was unable to do so. It will take a little bit of time. However, she caused a commotion. At first, I gave it a shot. I'll give it my best shot to calm her down. However, if they cross the line, we'll have a verbal confrontation. After all of this, she still decided to leave. However, after 2 days, she came back along with her friend and apologized to me for the manner in which she had behaved. We were able to create the account for her and her buddy. I told her that if she ever needs help in the future, do come back to the bank and we'll be more than happy to assist. She thanked me for my kindness and understanding. We started off as friends and then developed a more serious relationship with one another, but it quickly evolved into love. After being in committed relationship with one another for a period of 2 years, we went through with it and got married. I was completely useless to her. I always give her all that she asks and strive to fulfill all of the needs that provide joy to her. Even though I was the manager, according to my post, as we may sometimes claim that it is difficult for a guy to acquire his wife without a diamond. This is despite the fact that I was the manager. However, I went through with it because I loved her so much. In addition to this, she started spending my money as I became more financially independent. I could not do anything to stop her. I just let her do whatever she wanted. I wanted to make her happy and I was willing to do anything to achieve that. Counting all of those things does not provide what I was supporting her, but the fact that I did everything for her and she still betrayed me shows that I did everything for her. It is clear that I was not respected or appreciated for all of the efforts I put in. My trust in her was broken and it was a difficult lesson to learn. From now on, I'll be more careful in trusting people. Something terrible occurred exactly 2 months ago, and it continues to make my heart hurt. The previous year, I had the impression that she was becoming too far away from me, on both an emotional and physical level. I was 48 years old at that time, and my wife was 45. When I switched bank branches, I wanted to make a good impression on everyone there. Because of this, I was forced to relocate to Georgia. It turned out to be a beneficial opportunity for me. When I moved there, I didn't have a problem with her attitude at all. She would lament to me on occasion that he could not function without my presence here. However, this was not a viable option. It's possible that the fact that she's always at my side is the reason why we don't have any kids. It was around this time that she gave me a call one day and shared with me that she was considering return to her previous position as an editor at her company. I questioned her on how something like this could be feasible. According to her, in addition to being a decent guy, his supervisor was quite sweet. She informed me that she had a conversation with him and that he had given it to her. I debated with her about the reason why she should get a job. She said that you are not here and that I spend the entirety of my day by myself. So I need engagements. I understood why she made the choices she did, since it was justified. Anyways, as the weeks went by, she began to treat me with disrespect. In the past, she had been calling me twice daily, and I have access to her all that time. But as of recently, she no longer even picks up when I call her. At some time, she called and simply inquired about my job before hanging up the phone. Because of what she says, I anticipate that she will either adore you or miss me. However, she has evolved since then. I suggested to my senior that they organize something special to commemorate my return to the city. When I was there in Georgia, I fell ill and I had to take a few days off from the work. I seem to recall that it was a terrible case of corona. While I do have a plan for how I'll remain alive, I told her that was my problem, but I don't feel like she's really taken care of me in this circumstance in the only way to just stay with me on call. Therefore, after 15 days, I begin to feel a bit better. I have not done any work at all for the past few days, not even checking my email. I opened Gmail and about a week ago, I received some email, wherein I discovered an email from my wife's credit card that had booked 2 ticket flights to Miami for a total of 5 days. I was dumbfounded as to the reason why she had purchased these tickets. When we were having that conversation, I'm sure she had no idea that any changes to my credit card would immediately be sent to my email. Since I had access to all of her accounts, it was to my benefit that I could discover some of his expenditures and track them down. Being a manager could be of great assistance to me at times. After that, I checked both of their names. The first one was after my wife and the second one was after the woman. I was perplexed as to the reason why she chose not to discuss it with me. She had the opportunity to fly to Georgia and meet me there, but she chose not to. I was taken aback by that. I was thinking that I ought to give her a call. I didn't waste a single second before calling her and inquiring about this whereabouts. It was said that she was in the building's office. I said, "Are you sure?" She responded that yes, she is certain of it. I questioned her about her decision to purchase tickets to Miami. Her response ought to hold her accountable, but instead she questions me about it. Why was I asking her for this question, and how the heck I am supposed to know the answers to this? I stated that I am completely knowledgeable. What she just said, in a manner that suggests fear. I said, "Why didn't you tell me?" She mentioned that her buddy and her husband wanted to take a trip, but they were unable to do so due to issues with their credit cards. I said, "So why didn't you tell me?" The cynical response she gives is, "So you got time to look at my life?" I said, "What exactly does this entail?" She stated that nothing can be successful. What she had to say did not give off a positive vibe to me in any way. I sent him a text message that said, "I'm here because I'm working for you, and since you're my family, what do you anticipate from me?" She responded with, "Well, I'm sorry, I should ask you something," implying that she shared her anxiety with the procedure. But she was totally unaware of it. I had anticipated that she would apologize, but she never did. Another one of my co-workers gave me a call this time after a long time. He told me that he got my number from my wife. During the course of our discussion, he mentioned that he and his wife had been seen late at night scrolling past my home. He entertained the idea of coming to see us. My wife answered the door when he knocked on our door. He said that she was in a laundry and he inquired about me. She stated that he relocated to the Georgia branch of the bank. As a consequence of this, now he has my phone number, which he obtained from my wife. It was quite odd that she didn't ask my friend and his wife to come in, and he stated something very suspicious about it. At the same time, she was attempting to slam the door behind her as quickly as she could. He claimed that he had seen a tall man inside of my home. The news took me completely by surprise. Since it was night, I reasoned that the next morning would be a better time to talk to her. When I asked her where he was in the morning, she answered that she was with her brother. Because she wanted to spend some time with him while he was there with his girlfriend, she insisted them for staying with her. Because his brother was standing too near to him that night, I had a feeling that this would be the scenario that played out. The fight to relocate me to my hometown was an ongoing struggle for me. In the end, I saw a glimmer of optimism, but I still have to stay in Georgia for another 1.5 months. Time went by, and when it did finally come around, it was time for me to receive my transfer letter. I was aware that it would remove some of my numbness, but I decided to take the chance nevertheless. I did not let my wife know that I was going to be arriving home soon. I went to the market and purchased a number of presents there. My thought at the time led me to believe that she was faithful to me, and the reason she was being so rude to me was because she was all by herself and lonely. In any case, I flew out on Saturday evening when I left. I arrived at my house very late at night. Specifically, it was approximately 1:45 a.m. in the morning, during the wee hours of the morning. I couldn't contain any excitement as I prepared a surprise for my wife. My entire being was overcome with happiness. When I finally broke the ice with her about my transfer, I wanted to see his reaction. I took a taxi back to my house. I had a feeling that there was a spare key to my house hidden under the carpet. I cracked the door open a crack, but there was no sound. After a long day of work, I supposed she was just exhausted and needed to rest. I went to the TV, and it was turned all the way up. I have no idea why I had the impression that she was watching it. I was in a rush when I opened the door to the bedroom and yelled in shock when I saw what was inside. On the other hand, I was taken aback by it in the literal sense. I saw her on a tall man, having been wrapped in blankets. When I finally came to my senses, I had been holding a bottle of champagne in my hand for at least 20 seconds. I hurled this bottle on their direction. The entirety of my words was obliterated. I could not take what I was seeing any longer, so I got up and left the room. My capacity for patience was quickly deteriorating. I had to take a few moments to let it all sink in. I had spoken of my thoughts and beliefs for so long, and they had all been wiped away. I was angry, frustrated, and exhausted. I proceeded to the lounge area and positioned myself on the ground there. A man is seen rushing out of the room in direction to outside. It was my wife who came up to me. She came to me and tried crying. At the time, all I could muster up to say her was the sentence, "Please leave me alone." She did not return to the event. I let out a yell, "Just leave me alone for the time being." After that, she parted ways with me at that point. That was the most miserable night of my life. I spent rest of the night in solitude, and my thoughts filled with pain and anger. I knew that I had to make things right, but I was too ashamed to face her. I had no idea how to make things right, but I knew I had to try. What I saw was too much for me to process all this at once. In the meantime, I had feelings for her. I was under the impression that she could tell me why she had done that. Because I love her so much, I felt that it was my responsibility to ask her about it. She has no grounds to claim that I did not love her. Anyway, the following morning, I prepared a meal for her, which I then took to her room to serve. She had not slept at all the entire night. I said have breakfast. She was not consuming any food. I simply instructed her to consume it and reassured her that I would not comment more. She consumed some food. After that, I inquired of her the reason behind why she had done this in such a manner. She broke down in tears and admitted that she had been having an affair for the past 3 years. I mentioned that she wanted to open marriage in order to justify the affair she was having. Behind me, she yelled at me that she was not feeling well. She was left feeling emotionally disturbed by all of these things, which led her to engaging in an affair. She expressed her deep regret for the events that had taken place. She's trying to make herself see that it was a mistake on my part to leave her alone, but I was aware that she was merely making an attempt to avoid discussing the subject. But from that point on, I was no longer going to put my faith in her. I didn't say anything to her. All I said was I understood that she should not worry about it. She appeared to be taking it easy. However, she was completely unaware of what I intended to do with her. During the course of a week, I maintained an excellent connection with her. However, the truth of the matter is that I was working on something. I was aware of the fact that she is unable to survive without any sort of financial support. She was so concerned about worldly things. She is completely unable of imagining a world in which she does not have an empty bank account. After a week, I slipped an envelope under her door while she was sleeping, in which I had signed the divorce papers as well as a note in which I left the details of her accounts, which were joint accounts with me. The result of this is that I remove each and every cash from the account, and I also sell the house in which she was standing. She made an effort to get in touch with me, but I had already blocked all of her attempts before I left that city and got a transfer to a smaller state. She made a number of attempts to get in touch with me, such as coming to the bank to inquire about my whereabouts, but my co-workers cooperated with me and did not provide her with any hints, because she was unable to cope with her circumstances. I've no doubt that she is currently tormented in hell. I know I should feel guilty, but I can't help but I feel relieved. I know I did the right thing for me, but it's still hard to accept that I was willing to abandon her.